Welcome to McDougall. Can electrical fields in your house make you sick? The answer may shock you. Hello, I'm Wayne Judd, and now fresh from the back halls of the Medical Society, Dr. John. Well, it's kind of where we perceive you hung out in medical school, in the back halls.
Oh, the back halls.
Yes, you do seem a bit iconoclastic, John, you have to admit.
Well, the back halls.
The back halls.
I did spend a little time there, but I don't do that anymore.
You don't do it anymore?
You know, I have had the opportunity to tell you about 4 of my 5 dietary myths.
Oh, yes, we've talked about that on other shows.
You can hardly wait till the 5th one.
Well, I had suspected that one of these weeks now it would show back up again.
Let's review now. You understand that starches do not make you fat.
The myth
is starches make you fat.
Right.
Yeah, the next myth is you have to have meat to get all your protein.
Right.
We got rid of that one.
Right. You can get too much protein without ever eating meat.
That's right. You can get, well, meat's the primary source of too much protein.
Okay.
And we can grow hippopotamuses, giraffes, and elephants on vegetables, so there's got to be plenty of protein in there.
Right.
We talked about needing milk to get adequate calcium. And we realized, likewise, the calcium comes from plants, enough to grow hippopotamuses, giraffes, and elephants.
Of course, you're attacking a lot of, I mean, you're going to have a great amount of unemployment if your message gets across, you know, John.
Well,
dairy industry is a pretty big industry.
I thought the food industry is a huge industry, but it'd be the same as you and I sitting here talking about tobacco. You say, and me telling you that smoking is harmful to health. And you say, well, just think of all those poor tobacco growers you're putting out of business, John.
Right.
I'm sorry, that can't be my primary focus. When we're talking about foods and misunderstandings that cause heart disease, breast cancer, colon cancer, obesity, diabetes.
Human life matters more.
You know,
you're absolutely right.
Fine. I'm not worried about it.
Okay.
I'm really not worried about it. There are going to be plenty of people, just like there are plenty of people who smoke these days and don't wear their safety belts and drink too much alcohol. There'll be plenty of people out there to eat all that rich food. So they're not going to starve. And
you're not planning to change the whole world?
I'd like to, but I'll tell you what's happened. It's kind of an interesting thing that happens in our society. When Americans discover the hazards associated with some of the products, the industrial products, what they do is they move these industries to third world countries and then sell them to
like
people,
the cigarette, tobacco industry.
And another one is the baby formulas.
Right.
As mothers are discovering that the baby formulas make the babies sick in our country, then they ship the baby formulas to Africa and to Asian countries, and then those kids die by the millions.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with the beef industry and the other rich foods that we have. As we discover how unhealthy they are, all we do is we export them to Japan and Africa and China and so on.
So economics is everything.
You don't have to worry about these
Everything
people. They all stay rich.
Yeah.
So now that we've decided we don't have to worry about these industries, let me tell you about the 5th myth. Well, the 4th one was chicken is lower in cholesterol than beef and pork.
And you said it was not, which surprised me a great deal, because I always thought
but
if
you
didn't eat
remember,
meat,
a muscle is a muscle is a muscle, whether it wiggles a tail, flaps a wing, or moves a limb.
Okay.
Now you got those down.
I'm with you, John.
I wanted to spend this whole time on the last one, but I'll give it to you really quick.
All right.
And that is that vegetable oil is health food. People believe that. So
especially olive oil.
Especially olive oil. They believe they can switch from animal fat to vegetable fat, and all of a sudden they switch from poison to health food.
Right.
And that's not
that's true.
No, it's not. That's a myth. That's a myth. And by believing that, you end up having other health problems. You end up changing your mode of death from being shot to being hung, basically, is what you do. Vegetable oil is stored under the skin and the fatty tissues as well as animal fat is, and there's nothing more attractive about wearing olive fat than there is pig fat or cow fat.
Fat is fat is
it's
fat.
It's ugly, yes, and you're gonna store that fat if it comes from olives or safflower or sunflower seeds or peanuts or whatever. You're gonna store it. So the fat you eat is the fat you wear, and so vegetable oil is going to make you just as fat. Vegetable oil also promotes cancer. As a matter of fact, some of the vegetable oils are the strongest promoters of cancer that people commonly come in contact with, such as corn oil and safflower oil. Now, other oils like fish oil and olive oil have a much less chance of promoting cancer, but vegetable oils have to be thought of with caution.
That's absolutely stunning. Who would have thought?
In experiments where they've tried to reduce the risk of heart disease by switching people from animal fat to vegetable fat, what they find is, yes, they have less heart disease and lower cholesterols, but they have more gallbladder disease and more cancer in these experiments, and they end up dying at the same death rate when they make those kinds of changes. We find that vegetable oils damage the arteries. Vegetable oils are incorporated in the atherosclerotic plaques, the artery damage, and it's believed that vegetable oils are quite damaging to the arteries, but the way they reduce the risk of dying of heart disease is the vegetable oils thin the blood and prevent the clot from forming. But if you get an automobile accident with all that thin blood, there's a possibility of dying, bleeding to death.
Right.
Now, the last thing is vegetable oil not only ends up under your skin, but on your skin. And in people, having a shiny coat, shiny hair and shiny skin is not attractive. Whereas if you have a dog and you take the dog to the veterinarian and you ask, how do I make my dog's coat shiny? What does he tell you? Yeah, put oil in the food. So if you're tired of having a shiny coat, you follow the advice opposite the veterinarian.
So if you don't want to glisten, don't eat oil.
That's right. And people don't look good when they shine. How about that?
Great news.
Well, we got a great show for you.
Good.
We're going to talk about electromagnetic radiation and how it can possibly harm you, right? So you're going to really enjoy this. So we'll see you in just a moment.
We learned English.
Your kids can too.
Just watch Hello Channel.
Hey, welcome back. With us is Jim Butler. He's president of Home Safe in Santa Clara, California. This is a business for testing homes to make sure they're safe, primarily from electromagnetic radiation. EM, we abbreviate. Is that right?
Yes, EMF, commonly,
EMF.
yes.
What's that for? Frequency?
Fields.
Fields?
Electromagnetic fields.
What are we talking about here?
Well, electromagnetic fields exist wherever you have a current of electricity. So in the United States, in fact in North America, we're operating at 60 hertz. And 60 hertz electricity simply means the frequency of 60 times a second. And wherever you have a current flowing of electricity, you have a radiation coming from it, some fashion, some amount of electromagnetic field.
And this would include the electric wires going to my toaster, it would include my telephone, it would include my computer. EM's every place.
Every electrical appliance, we're surrounded with it.
Even my watch with a battery in it, right?
In fact, yes, there is a
so there must be. Is it like other radiation where there's no threshold of safety? You know, radiation I learned when I was in medicine, there's no threshold of safety. The risk of cancer, it goes down and down and down, but never hits zero as a threshold. Is that with EM?
Well, with electromagnetic fields, it was often thought, we understand the radiation in ionizing radiation, which is above light, where we have X-rays and gamma rays and cosmic rays, and we often thought that that was the only problem. We used to believe that microwaves were not a problem, but we determined that they caused heat, and now we cook with microwaves. They often thought that the 60 hertz electromagnetic fields were safe. Yes. And they're now an accumulating body of evidence suggesting that's exactly not the case.
Yeah, well, it's got to be safe. It's got the little tags on it that says it's safe. Not safe.
No.
We're not safe?
Why do you think it's not safe?
Well, I guess in the United States predominantly, although it dates back to radar operators here in the Navy, complaining of headaches and dizziness and even sterility. Through the 60s, the Russian shipyard operators exposed to electromagnetic fields. In 1979 in the United States, Dr. Wertheimer and Leeper identified leukemia associated with power lines. This isn't what they were looking for. They just happened to find out that the incidence of childhood leukemia coincided
I've seen that many, many times in the Lancet and the British Medical Journal discussions of electromagnetic radiation and leukemia. It's a very common subject in the medical literature.
Yes, exactly right, and it's, there's been hundreds of studies. The California Consensus Group on Electromagnetic Fields looked at the 88 studies. Now, again, as mentioned in our discussion earlier, there's more information on this particular carcinogen than any other in the history of the Environmental Protection Agency.
On EMF?
On EMF, electromagnetic fields.
With that amount of information, you would expect a tremendous amount of legislation to protect us.
That's what one would expect.
You would expect that, wouldn't you? Now, wait a minute. There has been some things done. For example, I heard, on second-hand information, but I heard from the electric companies that they recommend that you do not sleep in your electric blanket, that you just use it to warm the bed up, and then you turn it off, and that you're not supposed to have clock radios right next to your head of your bed at night. And so the electric companies are obviously aware of this. They must be a little concerned about legal problems. No clock radio next to your head. Is that what I just heard?
That's yes, very true, very true. A small, you see, we have some dramatic demonstrations of electromagnetic fields, but even a small clock radio on your bed, particularly the analog type, generates a significant electromagnetic field. Now, if you're not in that field, that's fine. You have nothing to worry about. But it's conceivable you could be sleeping there with that field.
But I am. This is awful. I've slept with an electric blanket. For decades.
Yes.
On, all night.
Right.
High.
Wonderful, isn't it? Nice and toasty.
Toasted.
But then your whole body is being subjected to this devastation.
I better stop doing that.
Yeah, but that would be an excellent idea to stop doing that. And to get back to your previous point, which was the fact that the utilities are coming around to this, the utilities are even advocate what they call prudent avoidance, where everybody agrees that until there is a final judgment on the medical community. Now, to some people, that judgment is already in, but to the power companies, they're advocating prudent avoidance, so to avoid the fields wherever possible, and that would include
And if I don't want
certainly
to become a human guinea pig to test this theory, then I should probably start turning off my electricity wherever possible.
Yes.
That'd be the prudent thing to do as an individual, wouldn't it?
Yes, it certainly would. It certainly would.
And so it's the house that may be unsafe, and you think we can make it safer?
No question. No question.
And that's what your
we
company's
can avoid,
all about?
Yes. We provide products, and we identify hotspots in homes, and giving people, if you can avoid the majority of the fields you're exposed to, then you're avoiding that stress.
Let's start with my computer that I spend hours in front of every day.
Yes. Computers is very interesting because in Sweden, for example, who have publicly said that power lines cause cancer, they have what's called the Swedish MPR2 standard and the TCO standard, which is a more strict standard, but you can't sell computers into Sweden unless you meet those low EMF radiation requirements.
Well, my computer does say that it has low radiation.
Okay.
Is it okay? Would it be allowed to be sold in Sweden?
It would be if it meets the Swedish standards. And what we find here in the United States oftentimes, and what is particular concern, is that the old monitors, corporate America and a magnanimous tax-deductible display, is dumping a tremendous number of high radiation monitors in our schools.
Jim.
So children are putting their faces up against, and they put them all back to back, and it's we're very concerned about that as a company, and we're working on a...
How about just plain old TV sets?
They used to be a problem. TV sets, we were getting X-rays until the mid-'70s.
Oh, really?
Let me ask about this amazing photo, Jim.
TVs are fine right now.
Are they okay?
Yes, they are. Nobody, unless, of course, it's an old television, you're very close to it.
Would the rear projection be even safer?
As long as you're not near the projection, yeah.
Okay.
Depends on the source.
This is a pretty dramatic photograph.
Yes, it is.
This photograph shows a regular fluorescent light bulb.
Yes, it's a standard, unretouched photo of a man standing under power lines with a regular fluorescent light bulb.
And could I go out and do this myself?
Well, I wouldn't recommend it, but you could, yes.
I have power lines that look just like this in my backyard. Or not right in my backyard, but I would say they're about no more than half a mile away.
Now, let's be clear. This is not connected to the wire.
No,
That's being lit
there's
by
a bit
the
of
electromagnetic field that's flowing from those high lines.
That's correct.
Turn it around and show it to us again.
Yeah, this is pretty dramatic, pretty shocking. Well, we got to talk about some practical ways to deal with this, practical ways to clean, because you've convinced me that there's an issue there. And so when we get back, I want to right in my home, right in my environment, how I want to straighten things out. Jim Butler is our guest, and this is really fascinating.
Learn English and have fun on Hello Channel.
And welcome back. We're with Jim Butler. He has a company, Home Safe, that tests for electromagnetic radiation. Before we get to the testing part, what actually does the radiation, electromagnetic radiation, do to the body or the cells that cause the cancer?
Well, there's a number of different mechanisms that are being looked at right now. Basically what happens is it stresses the body, the immune system. And there's a number of ways that it does that, affecting cellular communication, which is calcium ions, affecting blood-brain barriers, and then there's a number of other different mechanisms.
Does it ever break the DNA?
It doesn't damage DNA.
Does not?
It does not.
Well, that's interesting.
Because ionizing radiation
yes,
does do that.
That's kind of where I got that idea
exactly.
from.
And they often thought because it didn't do that, it must be safe.
Right.
But now they've determined that even though the noise level, so to speak, of EMF is below some of the EMF that our own body puts off, that it's somehow communicating with our cells.
Okay, so you go to somebody's home to make it safe. How do you go about doing it? And what do you have a little? I saw you had this little instrument.
Well, yes, we have a device that's it's a consumer device. It's an inexpensive consumer device.
It came from Star Trek.
I thought it came from Ghostbusters myself.
And because the principal thing you want to do with EMF, as we discussed, is prudent avoidance. You want to avoid the fields, and you can avoid the majority of the fields that you're exposed to. The principal areas you want to be concerned with are where you're sleeping. Secondarily, where you're working and spending many hours. And after that, where you spend time.
Okay.
So that the idea is that we're not going to eliminate these fields, probably in our lifetime, but we're going to continue to reduce them, and certainly we can all take steps to avoid them.
Okay, now these are our items. You didn't bring these.
No, these are all yours.
So tell us what we got here in terms of potential hazard.
Well, an electric blanket, some people I think use electric blankets.
Yeah, some people do.
This is for you, John.
No, thank you very much. Let's see, where's the...
we got a go switch on that?
No, this is the heating pad. Let's start with the heating pad.
Oh, we can go with the heating pad,
Okay.
sure.
And what do we got?
Just very simply, this is a very simple indicator, and it just shows green, yellow, and red lights. So
I'll see if I can find the switch, John.
Yeah, see if we can find that. Here it is right here.
All right, good.
okay, do we want to go with the...
Sure,
we'll
you
go with the
try it,
electric
go
blanket?
ahead.
Okay.
And I've got it on low, so I don't sleep with it on low. I sleep with it on high.
So I'll put it for our viewing first of all, and you see as we get close,
Okay.
can you hear that?
Well, yeah, I can hear it. Maybe you can turn it around.
Now we can show, as we're getting closer to the field, you should, I think our audience can see this. Can you see the light coming on?
And making a noise, too.
Can you hear that noise a little bit?
Yes. Right. You should maybe make one of those that you can wear.
Yeah, well, yes.
An
Yeah,
alarm
we
system
certainly
for
hope
the
it'll-
body.
Yes.
Okay.
yes.
And how about our electric pad?
Our electric pad, again, the same thing. We'll
So the farther that goes, the brighter the light, the farther to the right, the more dangerous it is, right?
exactly right.
Okay.
Yes. So here we just get closer to it,
That's quite a bit.
That's bad.
and really this indicator is 10 milligauss. That's the terminology used, milligauss. But this is really much higher than that, and so is the electric blanket. But from a health perspective, the health studies, 2 milligauss is something you might want to limit
Oh,
yourself
I used
to.
one of these this morning.
I did too.
Yes. Hair dryers.
See if it's plugged in. Don't seem to... There we go.
Okay, now hair dryers, of course, are very common, and you've got no field out here, but as you get closer,
Right.
It's red.
yeah.
The audience says it's red.
So,
I
Yeah.
even have it on high.
and it goes higher. Yes, of course.
boy.
Again, as I mentioned, the reading actually would be a good deal higher than that.
Okay. We have a microwave in our home.
Yeah, microwaves, there was a concern about microwaves for the microwaves themselves years ago, and really there was legislation to take care of that. A microwave needs a straight line, so microwaves are generally designed to be safe.
Okay, now there are testers that you can buy to test the microwave, and they're cheap. I think I can get one for $11 or
That's
something.
right, that's
Okay.
right. But microwaves are generally safe for microwaves.
Unless you get them in your eyes, they can cause cataracts.
Well, yes, but I'm saying that
Or if you
that
put the cat in the microwave, it's not good.
generally speaking, microwave, not generally speaking, almost exclusively, microwaves, unless they're in a high traffic area and the seal is broken, but
Right.
they can't, microwaves can't get out there to hurt people. But what's happening is the 60 hertz field is very significant, and if we could turn this on, I'd like to demonstrate it. Now, people watch their food cook sometimes in a microwave. See how far away that is?
Wow.
Most people get their heads closer
Oh, right
than that.
here, right up on my
Well,
face
this-
is
yeah,
right there.
yeah.
I'm
And-
fascinated by this machine.
Now that's not from the microwave itself, but from the engine.
That's
of,
right.
Of the microwave.
It's not a microwave, it's a 60 hertz
Right.
field, EMF field that's coming from there. And it sometimes, with some microwaves, reach 4 to 6 feet out into the kitchen. So after you use your microwave, just turn it on and walk away. That would be your best.
Well, let's not go. Let's just. How about the stove?
Of course, we got the microwave on.
Well, we're
but,
gonna turn that off, so.
It's just giving me...
There you go.
Now, this is
You just
back
turn
right.
on.
See, here, again, you don't have to be very
Yeah.
close to a
Oh,
burner,
it's sounding and
and the fields are very high.
blinking. No,
So
so
again-
cook with gas, right?
Cook with gas.
There you go.
yes.
That's the answer to that one.
Let's see if we can get the phone to go on.
And
This is Dr. John's phone, folks. We're going to see
This
if he's
is-
safe when he's...
Safe.
actually, we
Okay.
have to be transmitting. If we transmit a number, we'll get a reading here.
Okay.
And actually, this is in a much higher frequency than these others, but we get a reading. Whoops, there.
Oh, it's just brilliantly red.
Oh, boy.
It's going crazy.
And it's making a different sound, actually. It's
Get
making
that
a
thing
whole
out of
new
your
sound.
hand, John, quick. Don't ever touch it again.
That's pretty scary. Pretty scary stuff. Other things that you look at when you go into someone's home?
wiring, when we go to the places where they sleep and live, you can have bad wiring, and you don't really know until you do the test.
How about lamps? How about just the common table lamp?
Well, the common table lamp, incandescent lamps are fine. The problem is fluorescent lamps.
Oh, okay.
You know, you can, particularly with the old magnetic ballast, you can hear the lamp.
Yes.
You've got a significant magnetic field from fluorescent lights.
And so the bedroom is where you want to spend a lot of your time.
Yeah.
People have the electric blanket. What other things do I have in my room that might be electromagnetic?
Shavers, electric shavers,
How about electric
I suppose.
shavers?
Yeah, electric shavers, again, tantamount to the blow dryers.
Is that why you don't shave, Jim?
All right, Jim. Well, listen, we're going to carry on this conversation. We'll be back in just a moment.
Hello, I'm Nastasia, and I'd like to introduce you to Hello Channel, the innovative new way to learn English as a second language. If you can learn English, your opportunities expand. Knowing English allows you greater job options, more money, and a better lifestyle. Here's the best part. Learning English is now easy because Hello Channel brings it right to your home. Come join our classroom, enjoy great entertainment, and improve your vocabulary, all while you watch TV. A brighter future is ahead if you'll just say hello.
Jim Butler's with us. He's president of Home Safe of Santa Clara, California, and this is shocking.
It really is.
You know, this really makes you think about your house.
No pun intended.
Let's go to a phone call. Hello, caller.
Hello.
Yes.
Yes, I'd like to know where are we supposed to live now if we can't live in the home?
Everything causes cancer. There's nothing safe to eat. What do we do? Everything.
Well, I guess we can continue to live and do what we do, but it's a matter of just being alerted to where these fields are and avoiding them.
That's a fantastic
Thank you,
show. I
Jim.
want to thank you very much. Please join us again next time. That's great.
Thank you.